Hi, this is Marina from Dark Star Astrology, bringing you the new moon in September. It will fall at 5 degrees of Libra. It's quincunx Uranus. It's the only aspect it makes. And the healing crystal we'll talk about is the Mukite. The star that it's on is Zanaya in constellation Virgo, and the tarot card is the Two of Swords. So there's a lot of sword imagery in this new moon, even though I called it Peacemaker, and you'll see why later on. But let's just look at the decan first of all, because the new moon, well, the moon on Zanaya means worry, lost through legal and Venusian affairs, trouble through writings, led astray by sympathies. So that's the bleeding heart syndrome, isn't it? Now, the fixed star interpretations aren't that kind for this decan, but I think the trouble's caused when we pick subjects to write about that are controversial, and mostly ideas that are ahead of their time are just too mystical for the average human to grasp. So this is also an extremely right-brained decan, since the moon shines the light of illumination here. The intuitive sense is very sharp as well, and there's certainly quite a lot of mystics who have this position as well. So we are more likely to be diplomats and peacemakers rather than warmongers at this time. There also seems to be a strong connection with the night sky and the ability to prophesy. Now, the moon actually rules this decan also, so it can be very strong. And it gives this decan benefic qualities then, despite the worries of the fixed star interpretations. We carry an aura of peace and tranquility about us, even if outer appearances can look spiky or dishevelled. Oh God, I'm thinking of Boris now. Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister in the UK. By the way, he has Libra rising too, but it's Libra decan too. We are able also to neutralise a fiery environment just by being present. And Moon Libra 1 carries a very potent balancing energy. God, we so need this at the moment. But strangely, if the situation is one of too much acquiescence, then we will actually shift the scales towards a more defensive stance. This is when we can surprisingly even flip over to being more of a shadow goddess. This is rare though, and generally Moon Libra 1 is soothing and harmonious. The only fault is perhaps being too naive and ignorant of malice. And at this time, really, we need to remember that not everyone is as fair-minded as we are. So, now, it's an interesting situation at the moment. I'm recording this way earlier than normal because I'm just going away for a week. So, yes, another holiday, but this one's on my own without my daughter. So it's going to be more relaxing. And anyway, so I thought I'd do this early. And as you can see, I have been fairly productive in these last few days, actually, and weeks. So I think I need one now. The tarot card that's associated with this decan is the Two of Swords, and you can see, this figure holding them blindfolded. Now, this often indicates arguments between people who are being rigid and unyielding. Both sides are locked into the battle. God, this sounds like UK and EU again. There is little room for forgiveness and no sign of a thaw. The argument could go on for years and taint generations to come unless someone is brave enough to sort it out. People need to lay down their weapons and open their hearts to forgiveness. Oh, God. Don't turn the other cheek. I don't know about that. Karmically, this shows the polarity of Aries to Libra, where Libra is the other. The balancing of the scales indicates finding a compromise in this lifetime to extremism in the past. Now, someone... sorry to keep bringing Brexit into this, but I just can't help it. It's just such a big deal at the moment. And I think it's not just a big deal for the UK. It sends signals out to the rest of the world about imperialism and an empire, which is the EU. They just take different guises, and this one's no different. But this one's sneaky because, with the British Empire, you knew what the British Empire was. But it comes across as being so benign. And we're the ones demonized as not wanting to be part of this wonderful thing. What's the matter? You're so hateful. So yeah, this is why it's dangerous. And someone wrote a comment about Boris Johnson having karma as being a king in the past, who abused his power, and now he's paying it back, and he needs to. That's why he's in this difficult position. But I don't know. I mean, it does seem to ring true for me. I can imagine him as some kind of king who did mess it up in the past, but I just think he's doing it again. No one's, there's nothing to say that just because you made mistakes in the past and that was your karma and now you've got to repay it, that you do have to actually repay it. He might just again make another mistake. So you see the aspect as well. I mean, it's definitely about balancing. It's definitely about balancing karma. And I do think this is what's being brought to the fore. And I think Boris is in that position where, does he sell his soul to the devil or does he pay back his karma? And I think there'll be really bad consequences if he sells out. But I think he may do. Like I said, I don't trust him. Because yes, if it becomes, with this decan, if you can be too much, if you're too much of a peacemaker, if you do swing too much to acquiescence, then it does flip over to the Eris situation where Libra becomes Aries and there's a call for more of an Aries kind of action. So it has to be really, really careful that it doesn't go to some kind of extreme violence here. I mean, that's the ironic thing. We've got all this balancing and I've called it peacemaker. But if you're in an abusive relationship with a narcissist, there is no compromise. There really isn't. So you're just going to say, oh, I can't leave because it's just too difficult. I mean, that's what could happen here. Now, I just did a double check. Yes, we did have this decan being activated this year with the full moon in March, which was just before we were supposed to leave the EU, before the first deadline, which was, I think, the 29th of March. So here we are again with another moon in decan 1 and with the same stalemate situation with the Two of Swords. It's unreal. But the last time the stars were different. They were on Shiat, which is no shit. So there was that one last time. Whereas this star is definitely more of the peacemaker one. Shiat is the accident. So maybe that's what happened. They bottled out at the last minute, didn't they? And fell off Pegasus, and we didn't leave the EU. So this time, maybe the second push will do it again. But like last time, again, the moon was quincunx Uranus. Last time, Uranus, I think, was direct. Yes, it was direct at 0 degrees. It had just entered, and that moon was at 0. So that's when you get this kind of rare occurrence where you get a moon in the same decan in the same year, which is unusual. But usually they will be different. Like this, the last one was a new moon. Sorry, it was a full moon, and this is a new moon. So that's why I decided to choose the same crystal again, because it's the same problem. It is Mukite jasper is an ideal tool for overcoming procrastination. This is the kicking the can down the road, which is also the famous indecision of Libra as well. By revealing the true reason for avoiding certain tasks and bringing the motivation needed to resolve the issue. Its constant energy keeps one focused and well-grounded while soothing the mind and quietly distracting thoughts. It's great for focusing on a specific goal, Brexit, or for a motivational boost in the workplace. So with also the quincunx to Uranus, that can really give us a wanderlust to travel. So the adventurous, robust vibes of the Mukite crystal meaning make it the perfect highwayman companion to any journey, a stable and reliable wingman. The Mukite crystal offers the medicine of personal power and willpower, the traits we need to bolster the courage and insight for making life's big decisions. So those quotes were from crystalvault.com and Energy Muse. Both great resources, by the way, online for crystal meanings and just just really nice sights. So the fixed star Zanaya then, it's found in the left arm of the Virgin. It gives refinement, honour, congeniality, order and a lovable nature. So it's a pretty positive star. It's just with the moon it's not so great. That's the only thing. But generally it seems to give a talent for negotiating peace and diplomacy, as I already mentioned. And also Eric Morse says the name must bring a smile to astrologers who often associate Mercury with money and Venus with love. And Ptolemy, having put the money first for Zanaya, means adulteress or harlot. We have seen how Virgo has had such a reputation in past times, having been Lilith and Ashtoreth, as much as more honoured ladies by like Mary. So that brings up the whole Lilith thing again. So I think myself that the influence has bled into tropical Libra now. So with Libra, you think of the refined and cultured geisha girl or the 18th century courtesan as both being quite Libra decan 1. So in amongst this, we have Moon quincunx Uranus. Now, it's very similar to the conjunction, I find, and it is very much the pathological need to shock and outrage. It can be branded as an attention seeker when all it's doing is being itself. And the roots of the seemingly bonkers behaviour can often stem from their upbringing. So now David Icke has the conjunction, but Galileo has this aspect natally. And he was the Italian astronomer, polymath, engineer, physicist, and known as the father of science, the first astronomer to make full use of the telescope. He discovered moons around Jupiter, and he believed in the Copernican view of the universe, which had the sun in the centre, which put him in conflict with the Catholic Church because a heliocentric model went contrary to biblical scripture. So isn't that odd that the flat earthers have something in common with fundamental Christians? Anyway, I won't go into that. I don't know about flat earth. I think it's interesting because philosophically it does work. It works with astrology, and the whole firmament with the fixed stars as them not being suns is also interesting. So I don't know, I'm very open about it, but I because it's a theory, and everything really is a theory unless we can jump into a space rocket and actually see for ourselves. Until then, I'm just not going to say one way or the other. But philosophically, and the way that it fits with astrology, a lot of people I really like Santos Bonici, believe in it, but I think it's almost like a religion as well. Anyway, that's a bit of a tangent there. And lastly, let's look at the first face of Libra according to the Picatrix. And this says, a man with a lance in his right hand, and in his left hand he holds a bird hanging by his feet. This is a face of justice, truth, good judgment, complete justice for the people and weak persons, and doing good for beggars. Wow. Okay, well, I hope this is justice for the people. It's an interesting picture because you've got kind of Zanaya in there, like the Virgin, looking like the Virgin at the bottom, praying, and also holding the chicken. It kind of makes you think of what was it? Was it Jeremy Corbyn who brought up the chlorinated chicken that we might have to eat from the US if we leave the EU? And I think Boris called him a chlorinated chicken. So. Yeah, and it just fits so well with the Two of Swords imagery as well. So I do like the imagery. I think it sort of, I don't know, says it all. It looks like Jeremy Corbyn at the bottom with a beard looking up at Boris. Oh dear. So where are the people in all this? I don't know. Maybe Zanaya is praying, just saying, oh, for God's sake, just get some sense, everyone. So I don't know. This is going to be the new moon before before we supposedly leave the EU, I think. Hang on, let me just double check. No, actually, it's the penultimate new moon. So there's going to be one on the 28th of October, just before Halloween. So I'll be doing that one next. That will be very interesting. But it is strange that it is a revisiting Libra Decan one again, which was what was happening in March earlier this year. So we're at another crossroads yet again. So maybe at this new moon, it is about finding a compromise. I really don't know how. You see, with the quincunx, that is also karmic adjustment. So adjustments are being made. And I don't know whether this swing to the right supposedly is to rebalance a very big swing to the left. So I think with this Libra new moon, it is about just bringing nature back into balance. That's all it is. So what do we talk about this week? Well, I think it's about balance. I was thinking how hard it must be for people like, say, Nigel Farage to live a normal life because of the amount of crap that's thrown at them. And I was out with my friends a few days ago, and I was just joking around because I'd had a couple of glasses of wine, and I was going on about, yeah, you know what, I hear that Nigel Farage is single, and because we've been talking about dating and some horror stories from Tinder, and I thought, well, you know, I was just going on about I could try and get together with him. Why not, you know? And because I do have a bit of a crush on him. Has to be said. But then I thought, God, you know what? It must be so difficult for say you're the girlfriend of Nigel Farage. You would get so much crap, and would you need a bodyguard? You know, would you need really high security? Why people who attack right wingers, I guess, for being hateful. Nobody goes down that path. Nobody goes down that path unless they really believe in what they're doing is honourable, because it's not easy. It's not an easy one. And my life would be so much easier if I just stayed the Lilith that I was, and I probably make a lot more money as well. In terms of advertising, not in terms of reading, because I think I do. People appreciate the honesty, and I don't have problems getting clients at all. It's just things like if you're going to rely on ad money, really. But I'm sure, you know, it's hard. So when people have a go at me, and anybody else who's in my position as well, who takes these views, you just have to think, you're not in it for the money. You know, there's easier ways of making money, and just at least respect the fact that we're doing something that's really, in terms of commercial success, is not a good move. So then you got to think, well, in that case, who is running the show then? Who? Because it's certainly not people that like our opinions. Otherwise, we'd all be bloody millionaires. Well, we wouldn't be millionaires, but we'd be really well off. And so nobody does this. Everybody who is in the red-pilled game and who voices, it's silly because it's not unpopular. It's not unpopular opinion. It's just not the mainstream opinion. Anyone who does that, why would they do it if they didn't feel that it was truthful? And I respect people who do that because they're not selling out. All those rich Hollywood pop stars, whoever,
they're getting paid to run the program. They're loaded. Now, what does that say to people? So whenever I think, God, am I doing the right thing? Is this, am I wrong? Is there something wrong with me? Have I got hateful opinions? I think, well, no, because otherwise I would be, you know, nobody deliberately makes themselves unpopular. And so yeah, that's really all I wanted to say about this this path, because I just feel like it's a path that has to be taken to balance things out, and somebody has to take the punches. And I'm thinking of the long game. You know, I'm thinking about my daughter, and I think anybody who's got a family is thinking about the long game, and they are willing to put themselves on the line for a higher cause. And I know that sounds, oh, you think you've got a higher cause. Well, I'm sure that everybody who is campaigning for trans rights, or you know, the liberal agenda and open borders, they all think that's a higher cause as well. So we all think what we're doing is an honourable thing, I guess. So I'm just doing what I think is the honourable thing to do, and I guess the other side is doing what they think is also the honourable thing. So maybe, you know, it's not, it is divide and conquer, isn't it, at the end of the day? And if we only realised really that all we want is just to live in peace and have, what's the word, freedom of association. You know, that's the whole thing with the whole narcissist thing, is like, just because you don't want to be with someone doesn't mean you're a hateful person. You have the right to not be with someone or to be with someone. And if you don't want to be with someone, then it's not their fault. If somebody doesn't want to be with you, you have to ask yourself, what is it about you that they don't want to be with? You can't just call them names. You have to look at yourself. And I think this is the point at the moment, is that people are kicking and screaming because they don't want to take responsibility for themselves, and they don't want to look at themselves. And people who are on this side of the fence that I'm on, we look at ourselves, I think we do look at ourselves every day, because every day you're questioning yourself, oh my God, you know, am I totally wrong here? I feel like I'm going mad, because when I go out at night and I start talking to people, and the people that you go out, when you go to a pub, for example, in the area I live, I went out into the smoking area because you get more interesting conversations there. And I've given up vaping, so I didn't have my vape. So I scrounged a roll up from someone. It tasted disgusting. Never do that again. So I know that I'm off smoking. Hooray! But there were these two Bulgarian guys, and I was with 4 girls. I think the girls I was with were like quite young and glam as well. So I think they were like, "Ooh, come and sit with us." But not for long, because once I started talking about Brexit, or they overheard me talking about Brexit, it was like, oh. And then they just started saying, yes, but people didn't know what they were voting for. Again, that old chestnut. So my friend, she can get very sort of, what's the word, impassioned. She used to be Labour, but now she's not. Anyway, so she's voted to leave as well, so she went into one and they were like, ah. And then I just thought to myself, hang on, I really wanted to ask them and say, but in Bulgaria, you're not, I'm sure Bulgaria is pretty much Bulgarian still, because I'm sure they're pretty much not taking any of the refugees, especially not from from Northern Africa at all. They may get some from the east, I guess. Turkey. I don't know how long. I think they're nearest to Greece. I don't even know where Bulgaria is, to be honest. Sorry. I know the other Eastern blocs, but Bulgaria is a bit of a mystery. So, but I just thought to myself, yeah, you're just voting for your own interests. You just want the British to take you in because they've been there. They've been here for 8 years. They're working. They're making money. Fine, good for them. But you're only thinking of yourself. You're not thinking of the native British who live here. So yeah. Sorry, I'm going into one again, but it just made me think. This isn't a popular. Here I am, trying to be friendly and be sociable, because I'm not very sociable really, because I stay in my house most of the time doing astrology. But when I actually go out on a girly night, it's really hard because, I mean, even the girls as well, the other two, I mean, my friend, my best friend, she has the same views as me because she's my age, but the other two are much younger. And when I mentioned Farage, she just went, oh no! She was Polish. And I thought, yeah, but hang on, your government, I'm sure the Polish Prime Minister is pretty nationalistic. It's just that when they come here, they suddenly turn more sort of progressive, I guess, because then they're more internationalist as well. But I just think, you should be grateful because she said, oh, Poland's lovely. And yeah, I know Poland's lovely because Poland's still Poland. So yeah, so that's the thing. It's really weird. People don't really see. It's like England is a free for all for everyone, and but everybody else, as long as their own countries are all right, And so you can, and that's another thing about the nationalist thing too, is that nationalism isn't just on the right. And when I read a comment that was saying, yes, but if Nigel Farage joins with the Conservatives, they'll be really unpopular because the Conservatives aren't far right. No, I mean, at the moment they're not even right, but the grassroots of Conservatives are. So I think they'd be quite happy. It's only the party itself, which is full of, as I said, these kind of neocons, that they wouldn't be happy with it. No. So I think, and then oh yeah, so going back to my point was, am I going mad? And then I thought, wait a minute, the rest of the world has exactly the same views as me, generally. If you ask Indians from India what they think, they're pretty much very patriotic, very tribal. They have a caste system as well. Also, China, I don't think they have progressive views about transgenderism as well. Even though they're not particularly religious, their religion, I guess, is communism. And who else? I mean, most Africa, what do they think? Are they progressive? I mean, most of the world isn't. Most of the world is pretty tribal. Thinks that family comes first, community is important, and being with people who are like yourself, having the right to choose your company, and having strong borders, I guess. People have walls around their houses, so it's the norm for, I'd say, about 80% of the world, probably even more. I mean, in the West, what percentage really are progressive? And what about, I don't know, it's a very small percent. It's a very small percent. I mean, even the amount of people who identify as LGDP, GP, I can never say it, who identify as that, I think it's about 4%. Such a small percentage, and that's in the West. I mean, in the whole world, it's very small. So, and also, but I mean, this is an important thing. I'm not picking on you. I'm sorry, I'm not picking on that community. But in terms of men who are men and women who are women, and the gender roles being very specific, it gets more and more, like I said before, it gets more and more marked, and the genders are kind of separated as well as you go to the east and the south as well. So yeah, so when you think you're going mad, you just have to think of the rest of the world, and it's just the crazy progressives in the West who think this way. Yeah. So that's it. Okay then, so thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you next time. Bye bye.